ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरि ओम। We are now studying the second sutra of the Brahma Sutras. Janmadyasya Yatah. So in the previous passage, after the previous passage of Bhagavad Pada Shankaracharya, there is an objection. So Shankaracharya says that other than Ishvara, other than a sentient Ishvara, this universe cannot be produced. Whatever has been told, the universe of the qualities and also the Ishvara of the qualities, other than the Ishvara of those qualities, this universe cannot be produced by any other thing which is insentient, like the Pradhana talked of in the Sankhya philosophy, or Anu or atom talked of in the Vaisheshika and Nyaya philosophies. So such things cannot produce, cannot be the cause of this universe. This universe has to be necessarily caused by something which is sentient. That was the idea. That was what was told. Now there are some people who are Ishvara Karanavadi, who believe that there is only Ishvara and Ishvara is the cause of the whole universe. But Ishvara is the only thing. So such people, they come up with an objection. They say that then what you are saying and what we are saying is exactly the same. You are saying that Ishvara, other than the Ishvara, nothing can be the cause of the universe. We are also saying the same thing. But there is a problem here because this Ishvara Karanavadi, or people who consider Ishvara to be the cause of this universe, they consider Ishvara to be the be-all and end-all. So there is no Brahman there. That is the problem. So the ultimate reality becomes Ishvara, not Brahman. So they have this ulterior motive to establish that the ultimate reality is Brahman, not Brahman, is Ishvara. Whereas Shankaracharya wants to prove that the ultimate reality is Brahman. Therefore, there arises this problem. And though they want to tactfully say that what you are saying is essentially exactly similar to what we are saying, eventually they will try to prove that Ishvara is the ultimate reality. And in the next sutra, Shankaracharya will say Shastra Yonitvat. That means it is the scriptures from where we come to know about the existence of Brahman. So scriptures is the only source of the knowledge of Brahman. That Shankaracharya will say. And so that cannot be accepted by Ishvara Karanavadins. So to remove all these confusion, Shankaracharya does not accept the argument that what Ishvara Karanavadins are saying is the same as what he is saying. Because though they may agree that the cause of this universe is Ishvara, they don't agree that the cause of this universe is Brahman, or that this cause of this universe or the ultimate reality is Brahman. So that is why he says, Shankaracharya says, no, we cannot accept that. Why? Vedanta Vakya Kusuma Grathana Arthatva Sutranam. One thing which one cannot at all miss of Shankaracharya is the simplicity, at the same time the profundity of his language, and also the beauty, the sheer poetry of his language. So here he says, no, we cannot accept what you are saying because Vedanta Kusuma Grathana Arthatva Sutranam. Sutranam, that means Brahma Sutranam. of the sutras called Brahma Sutra, what is the purpose? What is the artha? The purpose is Vedanta Vakya Kusuma Grathana, to bring together or string together, Grathana, to string together the Kusuma, the flowers of Vedanta Vakya, Vedantic sentences. That means Upanishadic sentences. So the goal or the artha of the Brahma Sutras is to string together, just like in a garland, the flowers that are the Vedantic sentences. So Vedantic sentences, which are just like flowers, they have to be strung together. They have to be strung together. So the idea is that Brahma Sutras, they discuss about Upanishadic statements. They discuss about Upanishadic statements. So they allow us to analyze these statements and come to a conclusion about what these statements are saying. This is what the Upanishadic statements are saying. What they are saying, to understand that, that is the purpose of Brahma Sutras. So that is why it is called Nyaya Prasthana. It is the path of, or the section of logic. Because here we try to analyze and try to understand the meaning of the Upanishadic statements and their purpose. So if one has to do that, then of course one has to consider Brahman to be the cause of this universe. Because that is what is said in the Vedanta Vakyani. That is the Upanishadic statements. Vedanta Vakyani or Upanishadic statements, they say that this universe is caused by Brahman. Vedanta Vakyani hi sutraihi udahritya vicharyante. So he indeed, Vedanta Vakyani, indeed it is the Upanishadic statements which are sutraihi, by the sutras, udahritya vicharyante. They are cited, udahritya, cited, and vicharyante, and inquired or discussed. So the Brahma Sutras, they cite and discuss Vedantic sentences. That's what they do. They cite and discuss Vedantic sentences. And why? Because the purpose of the sutras are, the purpose of the sutras is to find out the meaning of the Vedantic sentences. And so all these different Vedantic or Upanishadic sentences, statements are strung together in these sutras, and these sutras try to find out the meaning of the Vedantic sentences, Vedantic statements. That is the idea. So Vakyartha Vicharana Adhyavasana Nirvrittahi Brahma Avagatihi Na Anumanadi Pramana Antara Nirvritta. So only a person who can completely determine, or who can complete the task of determining the meaning or the sense of Vedanta Vakyani, Upanishadic statements, that person only will realize Brahman. So the idea is Vakyartha Vicharana Adhyavasana Nirvritta. So consequent to the understanding, or after the understanding of the meaning of the Upanishadic passages. How? Through Vicharana, through inquiry, through analysis of these passages. You do Vicharana, you inquire, you analyze and find out what these passages are telling. So the passage, the statement, Tattvamasi, you are that. So who is Tat? What is Tat? What is that? Who is Tvam? Who is you? All these things are analyzed. all these things are analyzed and the meaning is found. So Tattvamasi, who is that, what is that, and who is you? And then the meaning is found. So Vicharana, inquiry is done. Vakyartha Vicharana, Adyavasana Nirvritta. So only when that the Vicharana is completed, accomplished, by understanding the meaning of the Upanishadic statements. So only then the inquiry or analysis of these Upanishadic statements is completed. Only then you get Brahma Avagatihi, means one realizes Brahman. Not by Anumanadi Pramana Antara Nirvrittaha. Anumanadi, that means inference, etc. Pramana Antara Nirvrittaha, by the other methods of Pramana, means of knowledge. So by other means of knowledge. So it is not got by other means of knowledge. It is not got by other means of knowledge. So we saw so many means of knowledge are there. So those means of knowledge don't help in getting the understanding, in knowing what is the sense of the Vedanta statements, Vedantic statements or Upanishadic statements. To know that, we have to essentially understand the Vedantic statements, study them, analyze them, and inquire them. So that is the only way to understand. So that is what the Brahma Sutras do. Through other means of knowledge, it is not possible. So why it is told here? Because Ishvara Karanavadins, they try to infer, do Anumana, try to infer or deduce that the cause of this universe is Ishvara. So such kind of a deduction or inference is not possible in the case of Brahman. Because only by understanding the Vedantic statements can one understand the meaning of these statements. It is not possible to infer. Why? The reason is simple, because this is not something which is Swabhavika. In the Adhyasa Bhashya, Shankaracharya says that though it is so much impossible, it is so unlikely that there is a confusion between darkness and light. But still, that is what is happening. We confuse darkness with light, light with darkness. So if that is the case, that is something which is completely illogical. But that is what is happening. It's so completely illogical that we have to experience. We experience. And it is naisargikaha. It is natural and it is the loka vyavahara. So that which is natural and which is the practice in the world, that is not reality. That is not reality. So what we come across in the normal course of things is not how Brahman has to be understood. Because though Brahman is at the background of everything that we see, but it is something which is out of the ordinary. It is not Swabhavika. So though it is our natural state, this is not natural to understand it. That is the point. Naisargikaha loka vyavahara. So naisargika loka vyavahara, the natural behavior of people is to mistake darkness with light. They mistake consciousness with matter. So they mistake the unreal with the real. That is the behavior of people. That is the normal behavior of people. But here, if we have to understand Brahman, then we will have to move away from the normal behavior, because this is something which is not normal. It is higher than normal. That being the case, one cannot use ordinary means of knowledge like inference and so on to understand this. So one has to use what is called as alaukika. Alaukika means that which is not empirical, or that which is not normal, that which does not belong to this world. So that means that is Shabda Pramana, the Pramana. By none of these Pramanas one can realize Brahman, but one can know about Brahman only through Shabda Pramana. That is the Vedas. The Vedas, particularly the Upanishads. So here Shankaracharya is saying that only through understanding the Upanishadic statements can one get an inkling of Brahman, not by using other means of knowledge. Other means of knowledge are not going to help there. He further clarifies it. So here one may get an idea that, oh, so in Advaita Vedanta, one has to simply accept what is written in the Vedas or what is being told in the Vedas, because Vedas are not written texts. So they are Shruti. So what is being carried down from generation to generation in the form of Vedas, that one has to accept. That is the, probably that is the manner in which one deals in Advaita Vedanta. That might be one idea a person may get based on what just now Shankaracharya has said. To clarify the idea, this idea, which is a wrong idea, that only you have to just believe and there is probably no place for reason, Shankaracharya further explains. He says, Satsucha Vedanta Vakyeshu Jagato Janmadi Karanavadishu Tadartha Grahana Dardhyaya Anumanam api Vedanta Vakya Avirodhi Pramanam Bhavat na Nivadiyate Shrutyaiva cha Sahayatvena Tarkasya Abhyupetatvat. Satsu cha Vedanta Vakyeshu. So though there are Vedanta Vakyani, that means Upanishadic passages, which Jagatah Janmadi Karana Vadishu, which talk of this, the cause of Janma Adi. So we saw earlier in earlier passages, Janma Adi means Janma Sthiti Bhanga, Janma Sthiti Nasha. So the cause of the origin, the sustenance, and the destruction of this universe. So the cause of the origin, sustenance, and the destruction of this universe, that cause is talked of in the Vedanta Vakya, in the Upanishadic statements. And they say that to be Brahman. They say that it is Brahman, which is the cause of the origin, sustenance, and destruction of this universe. Janmadi Karanavadishu, the cause, Janma Adi, of Janma, Sthiti, and Bhanga. Vadishu, of those who argue in that manner or who advocate in that manner. Tad Artha Grahana Dardhyaya, for the sake of making it Dhrida. Dhrida means firm, strong. For the sake of strengthening Artha Grahana, the comprehension, the understanding of the fact that these Upanishadic passages talk about the cause of the origin, sustenance, and destruction of this universe. That has to be strengthened. So for the sake of that, Anumanam api, inference also, which is Vedanta Vakya Avirodhi, which is not contradictory to what is told in the Upanishadic statements. Vedanta Vakya Avirodhi. Contradictory, not contradictory. Avirodhi means not contradictory to what is told in the Upanishadic statements. That is what these people, that is people who advocate for the cause of the universe, the cause of the origin or the sustenance and the death of the universe being Brahman. People means Upanishadic passages, rishis who talk about that. So they just not just follow the Upanishadic statements, they also accept inference. Inference means here other pramanas also can be included as a pramanam bhavat na nivaryate, means it is not rejected. Pramanam bhavat na nivaryate, it is not rejected. It can become a pramana, means of knowledge, provided it is Vedanta Vakya Avirodhi. It is not contradictory to Upanishadic statements. If it is contradictory to Upanishadic statements, then it cannot be taken. So the tradition is that whenever there is a conflict between Shruti, that means what is told in the Vedas, and Smriti, you have to go by the Shruti. That's a traditional adage. And that is what is quoted by Swamiji also. Swami Vivekananda quotes it. He says that whenever there is a conflict between the Shruti and Smriti, follow the Shruti. Follow the Shruti. That is the Vedas. So here also, as long as any means of knowledge is not contradictory, it is not contradictory, it is not virodhi to the Upanishadic statements, then we can follow that those means of knowledge. And it need not be rejected. Shrutya evacha. Also, Shrutya evacha sahayatvena. So, tarkasya abhyupetatvat. So then tarka, because even by the scripture, Shrutya evacha sahayatvena, as an auxiliary, tarka or logic has been abhyupetatvat, has been accepted. So even the scriptures, that is the Vedas, they accept logic to be something that is auxiliary, something supporting. They accept. So since they accept that, if we have any means of knowledge which is supporting what is told by Upanishadic statements, then we can accept that. We don't need to reject it, because Upanishads or Vedantic sentences themselves, they have accepted tarka. Tarka means logic. They have accepted logic. So because they have accepted logic, we can also accept any other means of knowledge, provided it is Vedanta Vakya Avirodhi. It is not contradictory to Vedantic sentences. So tathahi, further, or for example, Shrotavyo Mantavyaha. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it is said, Shrotavyo Mantavyo Nididhyasitavya. So that is quoted here, Shrotavyo Mantavyaha. Iti Shrutihi. Like that the Vedas say, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad in particular says. So that one has to hear, one has to reflect upon it, mantavya, one has to contemplate upon it. So Shruti says that Panditaha Medhavi Gandharaneva Upasampadhyeta Evameva Iha Acharyavan Purusho Veda. So that what is being told, Panditaha Medhavi Gandharaneva Upasampadhyeta. So a person who is Pandita, who has been told, who is informed, Pandita means who has the knowledge. A person who has the knowledge about what? About the Gandhara Desha. Gandhara country. Something like our Afghanistan, that area. Gandhara. So Gandhara, a person who knows who has been told or who has learned, who is informed, who has knowledge about the country called Gandhara, and who is Medhavi also, who is also somebody who has got sufficient intelligence and can understand things by oneself. That person, what Gandharan upasampadhyeta eva, would definitely, eva means definitely, reach Gandhara. So that person, because that person has been informed the route or has Google Maps, whatever, that person will reach, because that person knows how to use that knowledge or knows how to use the Android phone, will either anyway reach Gandhara, because there is some kind of knowledge which comes from external source. Also, that person knows how to use that knowledge. So just if you have some Android phone and some apps, it does not suffice. It is not sufficient. You should know how to use that Android phone, how to use that app, or how to use a navigation system. Only when you know, then you can. So here, that is why first it is Pandita, means he has been informed. Then also Medhavi, that means one has got one's own intelligence. So just like a person, one who is intelligent oneself, and one who has been given the knowledge, requisite knowledge, that person upasampadhyate eva, definitely will reach. Where here in this example, Gandhara, evam eva, similarly, iha, in this birth or in this world here, iha means here, acharyavan purusho veda, purushaha veda. So a person who has teacher will Veda, will know the self. A person who has Acharyavan, Acharya means a teacher, Guru. Acharyavan means one who has a teacher. That person will know the self, will know Brahman. So this is a quotation from Chandogya Upanishad. Iticha Purusha Buddhi Sahayam Atmano Darshayati. So in these two statements, Shrotavyo, Mantavyo, etc., there it is told that one has to hear and one has to reflect upon. So there is a emphasis on reflection, contemplation. There is emphasis on contemplation. It's not like you just hear and then you will understand. So there is definitely, there is scope for logic. So you hear and then you contemplate, analyze. And then the other quotation from the Chandogya Upanishad, the earlier one was from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Chandogya Upanishad says, Pandito Medhavi Gandhara Neva Upasampadhyeta Evam Eva Iha Acharyavan Purusho Veda. Just like a person who is informed, who knows, who has the knowledge of the country called Gandhara, and also is Medhavi, has some skills of one's own, that person reaches, similarly, that person definitely reaches Gandhara. Similarly, Evam Eva Acharyavan Purusho Veda. A person who has a teacher will definitely know Brahman, know oneself. So here the idea is, Iticha, in this manner, Purusha Buddhi Sahayam Atmano Darshayati. The scriptures, they are showing us that there is Purusha Buddhi Sahayam, that there is Sahayam, the aid of Purusha Buddhi, of human intellect. So here one is reminded of a completely imaginary story, but because all jokes are mostly completely imaginary stories, so I'm sharing this, which is very old actually joke. So most of you might be already knowing it. But in this context, this makes sense. So there was one person who was wanting wealth in life, who does not want wealth in life. So that person used to go and pray to God. Oh God, let me get a lottery prize. Let me get a prize in lottery. So he was daily religiously used to pray. So one prays religiously, means routine wise he prays. Let me get lottery prize. Let me get lottery prize. So for many years, almost 10 years, he was praying, and then he did not get any lottery prize. So one day he was totally fed up, and he looked above, because there is where some God is supposed to be only above, not below. So he looked at like that above, and then he said, "Oh God, I have been praying for 10 years, and you have not given me any lottery prize." So God also from there, Ashari, this sound came, "Oh fool, go and buy a lottery ticket." So without a lottery ticket, how will you get lottery prize? So that is the idea here, that you also Purusha Buddhi Sahayam. You might know the route to go to Gandhara or to go to Kozhikode, whatever. So if you don't actually go to Kozhikode, how will you reach there? So just knowledge is not sufficient. You also have to put some effort. So similarly, it is not that the Upanishads are saying that just reading the Upanishads one can go. In fact, the Upanishads talk about the opposite, quite opposite. So they na bahuna shrutena. It does not. You cannot attain Atman. Kathopanishad say na medaya na bahuna shrutena. So you cannot attain Atman, or you cannot get the knowledge of Brahman by intellect or by listening to it many times. So that is what is being told here. One has to also put some effort. So that is why it is not that in the Brahma Sutras or in the Vedanta philosophy or in Vedanta, one has to simply accept what is written in the Vedas. Of course, you have to accept, but it is also coupled with the practice of logic or application of logic. So you cannot, if something is told in the Vedas, then it is told there for some reason. So one does not simply keep on questioning everything. That is also not done. But at the same time, one has to also put some effort from. So like Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, Shrotabhyaha Mantavyaha. So one has to hear. One has to also contemplate. That is an order. That's an injunction from the Vedas. So it is not completely devoid of logic, completely devoid of reason, but at the same time, one has to have some kind of faith in the Vedas. But at the same time, one has to also practice, one has to analyze, and that is the purpose of the Brahma Sutras. That is what Shankaracharya is trying to make us understand. Na dharma jigyasayam iva shrutyadayah eva pramanam brahma jigyasayam. So in the case of dharma jigyasa, that is in the case of Mimamsa Sutra, the scripture or the Shruti Adayah, scripture, etc. That means Shruti, and there are auxiliary texts which support the Shruti or which help us to understand the Shruti better. So that is why Shruti Adayah. So here the supporting texts are also talked of. So just like in Dharma Jigyasa, in the desire to know Dharma, that means the desire to know Mimamsa, in that Shruti is the only means of knowledge. But na eva Brahma Jigyasayam. It is not so in the case of the desire to know Brahman. That means in the case of the desire to know Brahman, scriptures are not the only means of knowing Brahman. Scriptures are not the only means of knowing Brahman. That is the idea here. Kintu, rather, Shrutyadayah Anubhavadayascha Yatha Sambhavam Iha Pramanam. Here in this context, that means in the context of knowing Brahman, Shrutyadayah, scripture and so on. That means scripture, Vedas, and those disciplines which are necessary to know Vedas, to understand Vedas. All that. Anubhava adayascha. also experience and so on. That means experience, etc. is also yatha sambhavam, wherever it is possible or wherever it is applicable. Iha pramanam are the means of knowledge. So the means of knowing Brahman is not just Vedas, but also wherever possible experience. Wherever possible, it is also experience. But in the case of Dharma Jigyasa or Mimamsa, it is just the Vedas. Now, if you don't study the Vedas, how will you know that there is a sacrifice or yajna called Jyotishtoma yajna? How will you know that there is a sacrifice or yajna called Agnihotra? You will not know. So, you have to study the Vedas. Only by studying the Vedas, what is written there, only understanding and then analyzing the meaning, also analyzing how to perform those actions, and performing those actions, you will understand what is written in the Vedas. You will get the complete benefit, or you will be able to completely fulfill the purpose of what is written in the Vedas. This is the standpoint of the Mimamsakas. But Shankaracharya here says, just like in Dharma Jigyasa, Shruti eva, means it's only Shrutyadaya eva. Scriptures and the auxiliary texts are alone the pramana. They alone are the means of knowledge, na Brahma Jigyasayam. That in the case of the desire to know Brahman, it is not so. Why? Because here you also account, or you take into account experience, etc. Experience, different kinds of experience also you take into account in the case of the desire to know Brahman. Why? Anubhava avasanatvat bhuta vastu vishayatvat cha Brahma jnanasya. Because Brahma jnana, what is Brahma jnana? Brahma jnana is Anubhava avasana. It is the Anubhava avasana. Bhuta vastu vishayatvat. It is the Bhuta vastu vishaya. Bhuta means that which is existing. Vishaya means entity here. So vastu means entity here. Vishaya means the subject. So the subject or content of Brahma Jnana, the knowledge of Brahman, is Bhuta Vastu, is an existing entity. That means which is an existing entity, which is always existing. But it is an existing entity. It is not like we do something and we produce something. Like there are different types of inquiries. So we do something, and before the action was started, there was nothing. And then after the action ends, when the action ends, we have produced something. That kind of thing does not happen here. That is not the process which happens here. Why? Because here we are studying something which is already existing. That is Brahman. Bhuta vastu vishayatvat. And Anubhava avasanatvat. So it ends in experience. It ends in experience. So it ends in maybe the ending of mediate experience. That means ending of paroksha anubhava. Paroksha anubhava, that means experiencing through as an agent, experiencing as an enjoyer through the sense organs and the mind. Paroksha anubhava. That experience stops. And what experience begins? Aparoksha anubhava. That means one ceases to become the karta and the bhokta. One ceases to become the agent and the enjoyer, and becomes what? Becomes Brahman. Because by knowing Brahman, one becomes Brahman. So that is aparoksha, immediate experience without any medium. So that is anubhava. Anubhava means the experience. without any medium, without any sense organs, without any mind. That is aparoksha anubhava. That aparoksha anubhava is the final point in the knowledge of Brahman. And so Brahma Jnana, the knowledge of Brahman, ends in the experience of aparoksha anubhava. That means an immediate experience. It ends in immediate experience. Experience which does not require the mind or the sense organs. It ends there. So where does one get the knowledge of, when does one get the knowledge of Brahman? When one has this aparoksha anubhava, aparoksha anubhuti. And also it is bhuta vastu vishaya. It is about existing thing, that which exists all the time. It is about that the Upanishadic statements are talking. And therefore, one cannot just say that Shruti alone is the means of knowledge of Brahman. So this also we see. Some people suddenly they realize Brahman. They realize the ultimate truth. And then afterwards they are wondering, what knowledge have I got now? They have no doubt about it, because one of the signs of the knowledge of Brahman is that one will not have any doubt. All doubts will be cleared. But that person, because of maybe something he or she has done in the past life, maybe through various lifetimes that person was trying to understand Brahman. But then suddenly when the person is born, after some time, maybe that person had only a small karma left or something. That person suddenly gets the knowledge of Brahman. And then even without understanding, that person understands about the true nature and starts writing, etc. So we have in the recent times also seen people like that, who are brought up without any idea of an ultimate reality. Forget about ultimate reality, even about God, etc. Brought in completely atheistic environment, suddenly they get some kind of an experience. And then they say that, no, I have known something which is not going away, or there is something which is eternal, etc. And then they also, if they have a very good way of talking, etc., they become good speakers or they become good writers. So in the recent past, we have seen many people like that. Now, the point is that alone is sufficient evidence to prove that scriptures are not the only means of the knowledge of Brahman. That means scriptures are not the only place where one gets an inkling of Brahman. One can get it even through experience. But what kind of experience? That is, again, as I said, immediate experience, where there is no medium of sense organs and the mind. Kartavye hi vishaye na anubhava apeksha asti. Iti shruti adinam eva pramanyam syat. Purusha adhina atma labhatvat cha kartavyasya. So here we have to understand two concepts which we have already earlier seen, but we will revisit those two concepts. We saw these concepts when we were studying the Adhyasa Bhashya, or the introduction of Shankaracharya to his commentary on the Brahma Sutras. What is that? One is called Purusha Tantra. Purusha means a person. Purusha Tantra means that which is dependent on a person. Another one is Vastu Tantra, that which is dependent on an entity. So what is Brahman knowledge? Knowledge of Brahman. Whether knowledge of Brahman depends on a person or whether it depends on that entity. So knowledge of Brahman is Vastu Tantra. The knowledge of Brahman is not going to change. This is not dependent on anybody else. It is dependent on Brahman alone. Brahman is not dependent on anybody else. Suppose you want to make pulao. It definitely is dependent on the cook. So it is Purusha Tantra. So you have a recipe of making pulao. You see the recipe, or you go to YouTube, as all people do, normal people do, and you see the recipe, etc. And then you see, and then you're trying to make pulao. But this recipe itself will not determine how you are making pulao. Because whether it will become pulao or whether it will become kheer or whether it will become khichdi, the ultimate result is dependent on the purusha or the person who is making the pulao. Or in Hindi, there is a usage, khayali pulao, means one will make pulao in one's thoughts itself. It will become like that. Only in thought it will be pulao, end result will be something else. So that is called Purusha Tantra. It depends on the person. Something that person has to do, it depends on that. Vastu Tantra, on the other hand, does not depend on you. So if you say gravitational force, for example, it is not dependent on any person. It is there. Gravitational force is there. If you don't believe, then you go to a multi-story building, go to the topmost floor and just jump. You will understand gravitational force works. That's one way to understand it. Why waste one apple, like Isaac Newton? So one way of understanding is like you go to a terrace of a multi-story building and jump from there. Immediately you'll understand, oh, gravitational force is working. Now where you will land, that is then that's a different problem. So similarly, kartavya here, kartavya hi vishaye na anubhava apeksha asti. When the scripture is telling you to do something, so it is telling you to do something. Suppose there yagya, one yagya is there. So that yagya juhuyat, agni hotram juhuyat, swarga kama. So those who want to go to heaven, they have to perform the yajna called Agnihotra. Now, this is an injunction. It's a command from the Vedas. Kartavya hi vishaye, in the case of that which has to be done. Kartavya. Here the normal translation of duty will not come. Kartavya means if you want that, then you have to do this. So that which has to be done means that which you have to do to attain something. In the case of that, na anubhava apeksha asti. There is no expectation or no dependence on experience. What is the dependence on experience there? No dependence on experience. Anubhava apeksha na asti. You have to just do what has been told, that's all. So you cannot say, oh, yes, oh, Vedas talk about Jyotishtoma Yajna or Agnihotra Yajna. Yeah, I also went to heaven. But without doing this, I went to heaven and came. Like that you cannot say. You need to simply follow what is there because you don't know about heaven. It's a alaukika. It is not what is known generally. If you Google also, they also don't know about heaven. Maybe somebody will say, this is heaven on earth, etc. Like we know the famous Gar Firdaus, what is that? Jami Ast means if in this Firdaus means heaven. If in this Jami there is heaven, then Hami Ast. It is here. About Kashmir, a poet has told like that. So like that, some people may say that it is heaven or it may become hell also, depending on what happens. So kartavya hi vishayana anubhav apeksha asti. So in the case of what has to be done, what is expected of you, you have to be doing that. You have to do it, or that is an injunction, that's an order, that's a command. There is no dependence on experience. Iti shruti adinam eva pramanyam syat. And so therefore, there shruti etc. means the scriptures, that is the Vedas, and the auxiliary texts. They are only the valid means. Eva pramanyam syat. They only are the valid means. Only their validity is there. But that is not the case in the case of Brahman. So Purusha Adhina Atma Labhatvacha Kartavyasya. And that is why, because if a person has to attain something, that thing will come into existence, Atma Labhatvat, that Purusha Adhina, that thing will come into existence only when the person does that. Unless a person does something, that thing will not come into existence. For example, if one has to go to heaven, means somebody has to do something. Only then heaven is possible for that person. Otherwise, heaven is not possible. If one has to make pot, means you have to turn the potter's wheel and you have to take clay, etc. It depends on the person. It's Purusha Adhina. It is dependent on the person. Atma Lavatva. So if you are talking about pot, you say, oh, pot is dependent on person. But now in this sentence, I have used the word pot and person. But pot is dependent on person even for its own existence. Atma Lava means for its own coming into being, it is dependent on a person. And the Kartavyasya. So that is what a thing what has to be done, what needs to be accomplished is dependent on a person who will accomplish that. So suppose somebody says, okay, today you make upma, like that. A very favorite dish of many people, quite opposite of other people. People don't want to eat upma. They will instead go hungry, they will not eat upma. So whatever the case may be, the upma somebody wants to make. Today we will make upma. Now this upma will not come into existence even if it is not made. So that is what the kartavya, that is that which needs to be accomplished, will have Atma Lava, means it will come into existence only depending on the person, Purusha Adhina. That is dependent on the person. Whereas this is called Purusha Tantra. Whereas Vastu Tantra is what? That thing is there. It does not matter whether you do or not do or whatever standpoint you take, that thing is there already. So Brahma Sutras are there, whether you want to study them or not. Similarly, Brahman is there, whether you want to realize them or not, realize it or not. Brahman is there. So it is Vastu Tantra. So here it is talked of is Purusha Tantra, Purusha Adhina Atma Labhatvat Cha Kartavyasya, because it is so intricately connected with what the person does, because it's very coming into being depends on the person itself. So that is why here, in the case of injunctions of the Shrutis, there is no expectation of Anubhava. There is no dependence on Anubhava or experience. Whereas in the case of other things, other acts, also in the case of scriptural acts, there is a kind of freedom. What freedom is that? Shankaracharya says, Kartum akartum anyatha va kartum cha shakyam laukikam vaidikam cha karma. Kartum akartum anyatha va kartum shakyam laukikam vaidikam cha karma. Karma means actions. Actions which are laukika means which are worldly or which are ordinary, and alaukika or vaidika. Vaidika means which are told in the scriptures. So those karmas or those actions have been prescribed in the scriptures. In the case of both the actions, kartum, akartum, one can do it, one can perform it, or akartum, one can decide not to perform it, or anyatha va kartum, or perform it in a different manner. It is possible, shakyam. So it is possible to perform, it is possible to not perform, or it is possible to anyatha va kartum, perform in a different manner, any action which is either prescribed by the scriptures or which is worldly action. So as I told, if you set out to make pulav, it may turn out to, you either may make pulav, cook pulav or not cook pulav, or if you cook pulav, it may turn out to become khichdi or some kind of kheer, etc. Water will be more. So you will put new name something and eat what can be done. So that kind of a situation is there for all kinds of actions. All kinds of actions. So there also here Shankaracharya gives one example. Yatha ashvena gacchati padbyam anyatha va nava gacchati iti. So one may go ashvena gacchati. One may go to go on horseback, means through using horse. Padbyam, or on foot. Anyathava, or by using some other method of movement, transport. Nava gachati iti. Or you can choose not to go also anyway. Just like in Corona time, we have all chosen, or we are compulsorily taken this option of not going anywhere. So yatha ashvena gachati, you can go riding a horse, or you can ride a car or Uber if it is available in your city. Padbhyam, you can walk on foot, or you can take some other method like have your own scooter or motorbike or whatever. Nava gachatiti, or you don't go at all. So this is applicable. This kind of an alternative is applicable in the case of both worldly actions and in the case of actions which are prescribed by the Vedas. Now one may suddenly say, oh, so how is it possible that in the case of actions prescribed by the Vedas, one has alternative? Because Vedas say you do this, so you have to do it. That is what is being now explained. Tatha. So the first example was worldly action. That if one wants to go from one place to A to B, say place A to point B, one wants to go, then one can go either on horse, or one can either walk on foot, or take some other means of transport, or prefer not to go. Similarly, in the Vedas also, there is this independence is there. How atiratre sodashinam grihnati. Atiratre sodashinam grihnati. So atiratra, there is a sacrifice called atiratra. So in that sodashinam grihnati, one should not take the shodashinam, the 16th cup. So there are various offerings. So one should not take that shodashina to the 16th cup. Now there is a small background to this. What is the 16th cup? Okay, we will see that in the next class. There is a small little suspense also. Let us be there. Very nice it is. So what is the 16th cup? There is this thing. So, but there is this option that one should not take up the 16th cup, or one should take up the 16th cup, like that. So first it is told atiratre shodashinam grihnati. That means one should take up the 16th cup. Then na atiratre shodashinam grihnati. It is told that one should not take the 16th cup. Like that, udite juhoti. One can do sacrifice after sunrise. Anudite juhoti. One can do the sacrifice before sunrise. Like that. So what is the shodashina? What is the 16th cup? We will see day after tomorrow. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Any questions? Does anyone have any questions? Eerie silence is there.
Maharaj, this is Mangesh. Can you hear me, Maharaj?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, just some clarification. One is, can we say that this, what is Tantra? You said?
Purusha Tantra.
Purusha Tantra, right.
Vastu Tantra.
And Vastu Tantra, yeah. Can we also kind of equate it to Jiva Drishti and Ishvara Shrishti, rather, that Vidyaranya talks about in Panchadashi?
No, they are not quite the same things. They are different concepts.
Okay.
Because Purusha Tantra is Purusha Tantra and Vastu Tantra, they are equally applicable even in empirical situation, not necessarily to be a religious or scriptural situation. Yeah, that's why I gave you the example of gravitational.
Gravity. Yeah, yeah. Yes. And thank you.
Swamiji, Pranam. This is Pinakin from Pune.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since Brahman.
Okay, first of all, what is your email ID? I sent you an email, but it is bouncing.
Oh, is it? Oh, no, my email box must be full. I'll send you another email ID.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I wanted to ask, since Brahman is an immediate reality, immediate being beyond the six indriyas, including the mind. When Brahmajnana happens, who experiences it, since all these six faculties are not there, especially the bliss part, the Satchidananda? How is the bliss felt in absence of these six faculties?
So your true nature is Brahman.
Yes.
You know your true nature, that's all. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna gives this beautiful illustration. Right. That a salt doll, a doll made out of salt, went to measure the ocean. So what will happen?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
One will become salt. One will become the ocean. That's all.
Correct.
So we have this idea of distinction. We have this idea of finitude, that we are limited because of our not knowing who truly we are. Once we know that we are the unlimited, the infinite, then we don't think we are finite.
True.
So actually we don't need a medium to see anything. But we think that we need a medium. That your question is based on that. How will I know? Because I need this to know, right?
Right. Yeah, I will not be there. I mean, the I,
so I
will
not be there means this I, which you think is your true I, is not your true I.
Correct.
This is your limited I.
Correct.
It's like asking, how will the sun know itself? Like that.
Right.
How can the sun know itself? SUN sun.
Yes.
How can sun know itself? How will not sun know itself? That should be the question. But you're asking the question, how will we know? How will sun know itself like that? Because you don't know that you are the sun. That is why this question is coming.
Especially the bliss part, Swamiji, because I'm not equating it with pleasure.
You're more, no, bliss is not pleasure.
Exactly. But yet, since we are talking about Brahman being experienced by itself, what experiences the bliss part? Because you see that somebody who attains Brahmagyana, or the accounts of such people, they either burst into a laughter, or there is an external expression of that moment.
So the external expression cannot be any particular expression, because there is no connection with the external expression. It is just that it's just so it happens. It has got no connection with what really is Brahman knowledge. And if you are asking about how bliss comes, so when there is cessation of thought, what remains is bliss.
Yes.
Means when there is no thought.
Yes.
Thought means where there is no mind. But if you don't have any thought, then mind will cease to exist.
Right.
That is bliss.
Okay.
That is bliss. But in the case of a Brahmagyani, Ajnana also will go away. This mind ceasing to exist happens to us every day when we go into deep sleep.
Right.
And that's why we feel blissful in deep sleep.
Yes.
Though there is nobody to empirically cognize it, we do feel blissful, and then afterwards we say that, oh, I had a blissful sleep.
Yes.
But there is ajnana.
Yes.
That's why we come back to this. We never go out of this ignorant realm. So, whereas in the case of a Brahmagyani, the knowledge, when the knowledge of Brahman one attains, then this ajnana goes away. When ajnana goes away, that person is always blissful. Because that person is not associating oneself with the body-mind thing. So if you are asking what kind of manifestation, external manifestation, the experience of Brahman will bring, that we cannot say, because it has got no relationship with the external. As you said, somebody might laugh, somebody might not do anything at all.
Correct.
Somebody will just sit like that.
Yes.
Or somebody, you will not even know that that person has got knowledge of Brahman. Only that person will know. Will be just like what earlier he or she was.
Right.
So that has, because that has got no connection. This knowledge of Brahman has got no connection with the external external appearance or external behavior.
Right. And the person
the connection is they will not be attached to the unreal universe.
Right. Right. So, Swamiji, can this be a flickering experience? I know it might sound like a silly question, but
see, the moment you know that you have an uncle or
yes,
you have one great grandfather or a grandfather,
yes,
a distant relative, distantly related grandfather who has left you say 100 crores of rupees.
Yeah.
The moment you get this information, can you unget this information? Can
No.
you delete this information?
No.
You cannot. 100 because of the sheer amount you cannot. So like that, once you know that you are Satchit Ananda, it is lingering. There is no, it is not going to stop anywhere. What do you mean lingering? It is, that is how it is different from sense experience. Sense experience is dependent on something external. This is not dependent on something external.
Correct.
See, whether you get, actually you get the money from the grandfather distantly related to you. The very fact that such a possibility exists will not go away from your mind.
True.
Even afterwards, when somebody asks you, say, 100 crore diya tha, पर tax wax काट के 30 crore मिला.
Right.
You will say that, yes, I got 100 crores, but I got, you are not going to say you got only 30 crores. You will say I got 100 crores.
Right.
So the example may be not fully on a par with Brahman, because no example can be.
Correct.
But the idea is that once you know your true nature, then you always know the true nature. Then you are at that realm, no matter what your body and mind is doing. But your body and mind, that's why Sri Krishna in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he tells the qualities of a Sthita Prajna. So your body and mind will act like that. It's unattached. Your mind is unattached. You are unattached to this body-mind mechanism. So that will show. Only that will be the external manifestation. This unattachment.
Right.
But other than that, what you are feeling, that's why the scriptures, they say that a person might be like Pishacha. Pishacha means a person who is not very clean, etc. Or one may be like Unmatta, like mad person, lunatic. Or Balakavat, like a child.
Right.
Of course, I have to immediately say that not all people who are like child or who are like a mad person or not very clean, etc., are Brahmagyanis. It does not work the other way. But Brahmagyanis are like this.
Yes.
Because they are not concerned with the external world, external universe.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Swami.
Swamiji, my name is Lingaraj from Visakhapatnam.
Yes.
I have a question like you said about Anubhava, experiences like scriptures are not the only means. There are also certain disciplines like experiences, you said. So my question is it experiences, the scriptures can also be an experience, right? Because scripture
No, first of all, it is not experience like in the sense of a experience through mind and the sense organs, but experience which is beyond mind and sense organs.
Okay.
Yeah. So what are you saying? Scriptures can be experienced.
Yeah, because after reading some scriptures, if I experience that feeling, then I can confirm that.
Yeah. So that feeling, it is in the realm of mind and sense organs. So we are not talking about that kind of an experience.
Okay. Yeah. So it is beyond the sense organs. So it's beyond Indriyas, the experience which we
and
get.
Maybe the only experience one can consider is the experience of the I consciousness. Only that much. Okay. Which is there, but we don't realize. No, it is there so close to us, and it is constantly there. We don't realize. Always the sense of I.
So these experiences should be independent of the scriptures, Swamiji. The experience which you have talked about would be entirely independent of scriptures.
That's what I said. No, there are people who have realized, who have had this type of experience without reading any scripture, without even knowing that such scriptures exist. They were born in a completely different culture, maybe they were born into, there are people like that. They are born into families who do not even believe in religion, etc., but they got such an experience.
Okay.
Then they go in search of explanation for that experience.
Okay. Yeah.
So it is possible to get that kind of experience. But let us not, again, I will hasten to say that let us not be in search for such experiences.
Okay.
Because they can be quite tricky. One thinks that one has got some experiences, probably that person has got some problem with one's mind.
Yeah. So is it same like intuition, like in something which comes to us automatically?
See, intuition also comes through the medium of mind. Maybe the source is not the mind, but it comes through the medium of mind.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it comes as a thought, so it comes through the medium of mind. Whereas this is beyond the mind. It is not intuition also. No.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much.
Is there any other question? So then we can.
Pranam Swamiji, this is Tarak Raz Brahma.
Oh, okay.
Is it audible, Swamiji?
Yeah, audible.
Swamiji, you told like in deep sleep, we are not going to sense anything. But what is that which will wake us when we get up?
Ignorance.
Swamiji, sir, a little bit details, Swamiji.
Detail means ignorance, because we think that we are the body and the mind. Ignorance, also the karma which we have to do, the results of the actions which we have done, karma phala. So that karma phala wakes us up. Because you have some karma, you have to exhaust some actions, results of some actions. So you wake up. See, as long as you think, one thinks that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. Every time a person does some work, that work will cause some results. Okay. So when that result, suppose you do good action, you will have to then get you will have to experience good results. If you perform some bad actions, you will have to experience bad results. Suppose you go and slap a person. Maybe you have some reason for that, but you go and indulge in an action of slapping a person. You will get the slap, not from that person or not necessarily in the form of a slap. It will produce a result and you will have to face that result. But only when you realize that you are not the doer, you are not the enjoyer, that then afterwards, whatever your action you do, you will not get the result. Somebody else will experience that result. Does it make sense?
A little bit, Swamiji.
So one comes back from deep sleep. That was your question, right?
Yeah, yes. How does one come back from that?
One comes back from deep sleep because of ignorance.
Yes.
One has thought that one is the doer and the enjoyer. And
Yes,
so one has to come back to exhaust the results of those actions.
Yeah, yes, Swamiji. Thank you.
So it happens it happens at two levels. One is across lifetimes, means from one janma to another.
Okay.
In one very janma itself, it happens. Suppose that you might be knowing because you might have seen ghosts and all that, right? No, you have not? Have you not seen ghosts?
No, Swamiji.
For some people, it is sufficient if they see their own face in the mirror. But anyway, so yeah. So you see, this ghost thing also happens like that. Ghost is nothing but the subtle body, sukshma sharira. So a person, when the person gives up or when the gross body is no more functional, that person is so attached to that particular janma, that particular lifetime, that cannot come away. So the subtle body remains there. And that is why in various traditions, there is this tradition of wherever that person has died or wherever the dead body was kept, to keep a light there, to tell some chants, etc. The idea is that don't come here, your time is over, like that.
Okay.
So even there, because of attachment or ignorance, when it becomes too heavy attachment, then that person, because many people have seen ghosts. Sri Ramakrishna has seen ghosts. Swamiji has seen ghosts. So I am unable to deny the existence of ghosts, but I have not seen ghosts. Okay.
Yes. See.
If you say that is the second question. I have not seen, thankfully, for the ghosts. Thankfully for the ghosts.
Sure, Swamiji.
Because they will be like, they will also have to attend Brahma Sutra class, poor fellows. So that is how it happens. They are totally attached to that particular birth. And so they are unable to give up that attachment. So we are attached to this idea that I am the doer and I am the enjoyer. And so though I go into deep sleep every day, I return because of ajnana, because of ignorance. So deep sleep, going, according to Ramana Maharshi, says it's almost you're going there. So many people made a big philosophy out of it. They said, oh, then we have to just go into deep sleep. That's not the idea. The idea is that in deep sleep, the veil of ignorance is the most thinnest in our condition. But there is the ignorance. So that ignorance also has to go. And once that ignorance goes, that is when we become Brahmagyani, knowers of Brahman.
Well, in the first class, you said like knowing the enjoyment about this part regarding that, knowing that, I just forgot the terminology. Kartutva bhoktutva.
Kartrutva bhoktutva.
So until and unless we remain in that kartutva bhoktutva perseverance, we would not able to see Brahman.
So as long as you think that you are the person who does things and you are the person who enjoys things, you will not be able to. So that's the thing. So here it has to be completely, means you should completely know that you are not the doer. Otherwise, what will happen? Only when you are asked to do some duty will say, no, I am not the doer because Vedanta says so, so I cannot do that. That is not going to help.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So we will meet day after tomorrow. Shubharatri. Shubharatri.